learning objectives are here for you to see. So after attending the CE, you'll be able to evaluate efficiency of an imaging department operation, recognize the importance of assessing department culture and fostering team engagement, understanding significance of collaboration and engagement with high impact interdisciplinary teams, and implementing sustainable changes through utilization of Lean Six Sigma lean methodology. So here is our agenda for you today. We will run through introductions in our organization, why, the objective, strategy, outcomes, insights, and our future plans. About us. My name is Lauren Bergstrom. I am a nurse, so I have my doctorate of nursing practice, and I'm the Associate Director of Hospital Imaging. I have all imaging services enterprise-wide that are inpatient. I also have ambulatory just for nuclear medicine. And I work for Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center. Annette?
And I'm Annette Long, and I'm the MRI imaging manager of the University Hospital and the James. We cover inpatient and outpatient services.
And so something big for me here was putting this call out at the bottom. We may be presenting this to you, but truly the work we do would not be possible without all of our teams that we have worked with for this. So our entire Lean Six Sigma project team, really big call out to our radiology analytics expert. He's phenomenal and was key to helping us understand the data and present it. And our providers, the ACE team and diagnostic transportation. And we have nothing to disclose. So OSU Wexner Medical Center, we have 7 hospitals. We have a very comprehensive ambulatory footprint with 10 ambulatory sites right now. We are getting ready to open 2 more. And you can see up there some of the work that we do. We are nationally recognized for Magnet. We have some partnerships, and we are a Translational Research Institute. So our hospital, we have a new hospital opening in spring of 26, and it says spring of 26. However, we are doing great on time, which never happens. This is the largest hospital in the United States that will open until 2026 as well. And so that was something to call out as we are working with our teams to build this hospital there. So it's 26 floors and 820 beds. 180 of those are ICU beds. The other are all PCU. They can flex into med-surg as well. And then we have an entire floor of imaging suite. So that just breaks down University Hospital, the James. We have a heart hospital, brain and spine, Dodd, which is our rehab, Harding, and East. So we're going to go into the why here, and I'm going to let Annette take over.
So the why. So why did we decide to start a process improvement project? So we noticed an increase in inpatient orders, and with that increase in inpatient orders, we were not taking care of our patients appropriately because there were extended turnaround times, and also the increased length of stay in the hospital. But what we really wanted to focus on was patient care. We want to provide the best possible care for our patients. So the first step was recognizing issues. And I will say, as a new leader there, I've been there 4 years, these problems weren't there. They were there a long time. And kind of with change, I mean, we were noticing the increase and they just dealt with it. So we wanted to really start a process improvement project. And we weren't meeting any of our benchmarks, but for example, our in-house routine scans, it was taking 31 hours to get a scan for a routine inpatient, and in-house stat, it was taking 7. So we definitely wanted to improve on that. But first we had to collect data. And because once again, if you cannot measure it, you cannot approve it. So these were things that we didn't have the dashboards in place. We didn't have tools to measure a lot of these metrics.
And so I love that you said that first, if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it, because that was very true. And a big call out here for this turnaround time for these in-house routine scans and the in-house stat scans is that this is 31.8 hours from the time you ordered the scan to begin. So it doesn't even include the order to end. And so that's a big call out there. We really want to highlight the volumes here first. This is our volume growth. Familiarize yourself with that graph on the left there. It shows that we have 15.27% more MRI exams this fiscal year, and it's compared to the same time frame for the prior. And then the graph on the right shows a year-over-year comparison from 22, 23, and 24. And then I said enterprise-wide because I have that footprint, but really UH and James is Annette's footprint here. And so she has a 4.9% growth. And so this just continues to go up. It looks like you're going down because it's year over year, but it is still rising 4.9%. And again, year over year on the right-hand side is 22, 23, and 24.
I would like to call something out really quick in that slide is this increase has been with reduced staffing. So we lost a lot of we lost a lot of people during COVID or when OSU would open outreach centers. So extremely proud of my team, but it's a big increase.
You should be very proud. And so our objective here, so we had to identify what needed to, be worked on. And if you look at our process map, we utilize Lean Six Sigma tools. And so pulling out the process map here and walking through all of the steps in it, really finding what is the problem we have going on. And there were opportunities in every spot, truly. And so what was the most eye-opening for you with this, Annette?
So the most eye-opening for me was there was an issue in every single part of the process, but it was also, we included all the interdisciplinary teams. We were working together to sort these out, and we got the right stakeholders involved, and we were able to really put this on paper and be like, wow, we have an opportunity in a lot of areas.
Yeah, and that's every star there is here's your opportunity to improve this process. And using the define, measure, analyze, improve, and control, this is our analyze phase and our fishbone. Yeah, exactly, our fishbone diagram here. And so PDSA cycle, fishbone, we were breaking down all of the problems with people, process, technology, and measurement. And so we identified these key attributing factors. And so transportation delays, staffing constraints, the increase in volume, the team engagement and buy-in, escalation algorithms. So how do we escalate when patients need care quickly? Interdisciplinary relationships, the schedule template needed optimized, truly was not efficient for us. The screening and pre-screening delays. I will say in these, we were trying to identify what was within our scope of control, and transportation very much feels outside of the scope of control, but it wasn't when we had them involved in the team. They were part of the team. So they were a key to that, part of our successes here. So then we move into our improve phase. We took those opportunities and put them on this payoff matrix for us. And so really, what is our low hanging fruit? The things that are going to be easy to do, but maybe have a low impact or a high impact. Also, it's really hard looking at this payoff matrix because everything feels hard. It feels like difficult to do in such a large academic organization. And we, again, use the PDSA cycle for this too. And so really moving into our strategy, how did we execute the changes that were identified? I will briefly talk about Edward Deming and the lens of profound knowledge. The evidence-based practice nurse in me says, we should go ahead and pull out why and how, and how do we even talk about quality improvement? And so Edward Deming talks about appreciating the system, the human behavior that is there, the understanding of the variation in theory. And as much as I hated theory in school, it is important to root ourselves and ground ourselves in that theory. And so this was our framework we used to think about quality improvement, really focusing on the system and human behavior. So here's our strategy guide for implementing change, how we got to the project success. And really, we started with assessing the culture of the department. We wanted to ensure that the team had the right resources. We then strengthened interdisciplinary partnerships, needed to establish baseline performance, swiftly implement our quick wins, and then providing follow-up and maintaining team engagement. There was also an opportunity in this strategy for giving executive awareness to the problems, painting the story, telling it in the right way so that they could understand what was going on, and engaging the leaders who apply that pressure from the top down. This is Annette.
This is me. So one of the things, seek first to understand and then to be understood. So what purpose did our teams have? And when I talk about teams, I talk about all teams. I talk about nursing, transportation, MRI. And how do they impact change? So one thing I did was I talked to a lot of the team members and I explained everything that was going on. And once you talk about a problem at hand and you get people, at first they're not interested, but then you kind of engage them more, and you're going to find hidden leaders. You're going to find leaders that maybe didn't feel empowered to speak up before. And this is what happened in my team. Definitely engaging everyone to be a part of a change that it's taking place. And then being able to provide the structure and accountability for our next actions. But this is really important, because if you don't have a team culture and you don't have team engagement, then your project or your process improvement won't be a success.
And truly, you're building the foundation with that culture, Annette. And Annette was a really big part of that culture. She still is.
So one of the quotes from one of our executive leaders are, we want to do more with less, and we want to do better with the right resources. So looking at our processes and having the team give feedback, what are processes that aren't supporting the teams, but they're working against them? And do we have the right tools? Do we have the right tools? Maybe I think my team has our team has the right tools, but making sure they do, and then letting the team express the ideas and barriers of what they identify as the reason we have a problem with turnaround time. And even if it's so big or so small, just having everyone being heard in the department is really important.
And I want to also what we do not want to do more with less, and we want to do better with the right resources. That is a really big call out there, because Annette, the team was like, we just want to do more and more. They always want us to do more. And we're like, yeah, but it's a yes, but you also need these resources. And so love that quote from Dennis there. Yeah.
When you say right tools, did you kind of categorize as day-to-day stuff that you can do, or get the next capital piece of equipment, or what would you guys consider the right tools?
Yeah, very good. That's an excellent question. And so really finding out from the teams what they perceived as being the right tools first. And I mean, I can tell you what I can see. Like, I walk in and I may think you need this, or Annette might say from the manager lens, I know they need this, but really what does the team identify? And then also adding some things that maybe they didn't identify. So yes, equipment could be tools. That wasn't in our case. We have the equipment that we need. We are growing even more and have it. We don't have the right hours for the equipment. So the right tools, staffing is needed for those hours. The right tools we need, we needed our radiologists to help with triaging. The right tool, I could keep going on like different tools that we found that they needed in their toolbox to be successful, or really they were just trying to do, the work and spinning their wheels. And so excellent question, thank you.
I'm sure Lauren's gonna jump in on this, but this was one of the first things that it was eye-opener to me, the Kanban board. So we placed this big sticky piece of white paper between where the technologists come into their break room and they have to pass it. And we put this and we asked them for what we could, what are some changes they'd like to see, or what is something, just ideas. And so everybody's like, post-it notes, like the team's like not really, what
like
we do,
why?
Yeah, they're why. Like this is, I'm like, just try it. And so the first couple days, there were a couple post-it notes. Then I came into my office one day, and this was all of these notes. And I'm like, now the team they're like, oh, they are engaged. They're like, oh, well, we can just write what we think. Now, there's some items we put in the parking lot because these might need 10 more staff members. And, that can be in the future. But there are things they could watch the progress of where we were and suggestions that they had.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely perfect. She's right. You mentioned the tools. This is how we found out what tools they wanted or they needed. It's easy to sit in a room and say, like, tell me what you need, but they need more time to think about it and maybe not have the pressure from us in their face asking. And so this Kanban board helped them. We also, if you notice, we didn't say, what problems do you have? We said, what ideas do you have? And so if there was a problem up there, we weren't even addressing it. We would tell them, like, instead, I need you to put an idea. It was anonymous, so we wouldn't know who put the ideas up there. And then we'd move it through in progress or then completed. And you did mention that parking lot there. That was important because one of the things they kept honing in on is pay too. Like, that was brought up a few times. And some people have perceptions of they should be paid more because they're doing X, Y, Z, or et cetera. And so that was something we talked about that in staff meetings, is the things we had to parking lot and why. Yeah, yes, and that was the discussion. And so we had to then talk about the benefits piece and the 10% for, yeah. And so just lots of, yes. And so it was something that happened during our process too, is that the pay was addressed within our organization, and that was no small feat. And so something else really big here is we partnered with our radiologists for escalation of life-threatening scans, and that was really needed for this. And sorry, you wanted to say something, Matt, go ahead.
No, I was just wanting to say this was a great opener to get team buy-in, because, you know, I can stand up in a room and talk to my team and a staff meeting, and I might not get a lot of engagement. I might get some from a certain individuals, but this is a safe zone where nobody knows who put what. If they feel like comfortable, they felt comfortable doing this. And this was huge for me, because there were a lot of great ideas that we could work from.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that, because a lot of times creating the buy-in, it's not a great time to do it in the staff meeting, because some people are, but this is creating a culture of safety, which the team before, like myself, really didn't feel empowered to speak up at all.
Yeah, that's very true. Then we move into strengthening those partnerships. And so that was something identified from the team, from us, what we see from outside departments, that we needed to really assess those stakeholders and who influences the team's success that maybe is inside of our scope or outside of our scope, and working to engage those high impact teams that have influence. And so I really want to ask you, Annette, with this, but like, how did you think prior to some of this, like, did you have support from your interdisciplinary team?
Absolutely not. Yeah. And one big key takeaway from this is imaging was always siloed. At Ohio State, it was completely siloed. You didn't work with nursing. You did not work with interdisciplinary teams. And this was huge for me, because we started working with people and understanding they have problems with us too. There's processes that they don't like, but being able to create buy-in and having a team help us is absolutely phenomenal. And it makes me really happy, because we're breaking these silos down, but we're doing it for the right reasons, for patient care.
Yeah, and something huge with this interdisciplinary work that we continue to do is radiology or imaging has this broad focus. We have to be able to see the whole department, right? I'm not talking to deaf ears. You know, we have to see the whole organization, not just one narrow focus. And so some of these teams are only thinking about themselves. And so it was good for them to also engage with us and hear the broad lens we have to have, why they have the narrow focus to bring things forward. And then we had to establish our baseline performance. And so really looking at this here, this is one of the process mapping events for our team. We've had 2 big process mapping events. And so we wanted to find, how did we get where we are? And you know, what is the current landscape and what do we have to work with? And so we had to champion the physicians on the team to be a part of this. And Annette can really shed some light on that, because she was very crucial to this part.
So this is one, like I said, this is one process, and involving the right people and the right stakeholders, it is unbelievable. But I never worked with neuro before, and I didn't really understand the process myself. What happens when an inpatient is ordered? Or why do they order something inpatient versus an outpatient? Or what? These are the questions that were kind of out of my scope, but being able to have a group of stakeholders, and in this room when we did this, we had physician champions, we had case management, we had technologists, we had nursing schedulers, nurses, yeah. And so we started to realize, you know, wow, there's a lot of small pieces that we didn't even know. Like, you know, for instance, if they discharge an inpatient, they're not able to be like basically scanned as an outpatient for 24 hours. That was one big key takeaway. I mean, that's just one thing, but just really when you're starting a project, really involving the right people and really just digging into it.
Yeah. And then we went to implementing our quick wins. And so the short-term wins provide proof that the change initiatives are making progress. And so I like this visual here, because it's not just one PDSA cycle. Every time we start a project or a process, there are multiple things you work on. And one lens people will say is, only work on one thing at a time. The problem is we really get stuck in this plan, and then you do something, and then there's no time to study or, you know, act upon it. And so we wanted to plan, do the work, and then study it and act upon the next changes needed. And so our results that we will show and our turnaround time and our increase in our volume demonstrate these measurable successes. And it's hard though for people to get on board with the multiple changes at once. And it also, you have to make sure you can measure it, because if you do things and just throw spaghetti at a wall, it doesn't work. But if you have something to measure with it, then you can actually show your success in your PDSA cycles. So this created our buy-in and our motivation. And so then Annette really provided the follow-up and maintained the team engagement here.
Yeah, so, you know, how did I do it? So, you know, basically validating the efforts and listening to ideas. I did much more rounding, recognizing the involved staff, and then just encouraging. And once again, when I say teams, any kind of teams that I worked with, it's not just our teams, but it's all teams. One big thing though is quickly addressing resistors. There are people that they resist and they don't like change, but kind of having one-on-ones with them and saying, you know, what are your feelings to this? Why are you opposed to this? And then it was, you know, I opened up a whole new, like, oh, wow, okay, so I understand that. So how do you think that you can help? And then all of a sudden, by creating buy-in and, you know, addressing that I understand that they don't want to change, they started coming up with ideas. Because, you know, one of the comments that I was told before was, before you came, we weren't supported and no one wanted to hear what I had to say. But it took me talking to someone, like a one-on-one casual conversation, to really dig in and get that. And once again, team engagement, you know, recognizing, just really validating their efforts and recognizing. And we did fun things like, you know, maybe small milestones. We might have had a morning breakfast. We might have had a pizza party. But I also, during this time that we started this project, I implemented a thing called the Fun Committee. And it was a couple girls that they like to party plan. And so they would organize these fun things for the team, but yet they were getting, the team's getting recognition, like we're giving them, you know, praise, but then the other team members see, okay, Logan and Brittany are doing this, and so it becomes like, oh, this is really good. So they liked it, you know.
Oh, sorry. This was just talking about the team engagement. She just talked about all of it, truly. The only thing you didn't mention there is the queue. So we started tracking 2 times a day the queue. You can't see it within our IHIS system, you know, retrospectively. And so we wanted the team to see that queue like doesn't move. And Annette, you talked about that celebrating successes in her fun committee. The team loved that and truly bought into that. Like,
they love the fun committee.
They do. It's so good. And our visual management boards, you saw the Kanban board. We also posted right in the department for people to see the work we were doing and why we were doing it. Just making it so that they see it and can recognize it there. And so then I'm going to move into the outcomes, the piece you're like, okay, but did it work, right? Yes. And so I'm going to give you a second to familiarize yourself with this graph here. You will see that this is a control chart. The orange line in the middle there at 31.8 was our prior performance. We chose to go back 2 years. Didn't need to, but we did choose to go back 2 years. We wanted you to see that we did not have control. We had lots of variation. The upper and control limits there were very high because we were performing at a very, you know, out of control system. And so the green line is where we started implementing these changes and where we started engaging the teams and where we started the work. And the graph speaks for itself. We have shifted our control, our center line there down to 22.77. Still not perfect, right? We still might not be meeting our benchmarks fully, but we have more control. You might look at this and say, but it looks like you're above that 22.7. You're correct, we are. But that is because we have shifted the control because it's been 12 months of success where we were under the 31.8 prior. And so this just really speaks for the success in the department. These are all of our in-house routine exams. Then we move on to our stat. We cannot claim a shift in our stat ordering. However, we have reduced variability. So if you look at this chart here, you see we do have 3 months that we were above our center line, and that's okay. This is an area of opportunity for us. We are still doing great. You have reduced that variation. You have like changed the department and the patients that we can see and the number that we can see. But we still have opportunity, and so that's okay. We're still going to keep going. This chart here is our volumes with the turnaround time overlaid, just for you to see that the volumes are up. You can look, we went back all the way to 2020. I will highlight that 2020, 2021, there was more staff prior to COVID. And ambulatory for us started opening sites right around then. And that did take some more of our staff. We now have a run rate of only 1.2 FTE more in the departments. However, we are still able to see an increasing number of patients. And you will see our stat orders have also risen higher than our routine even more, and that's probably trending across the nation. And that is also partly because we didn't have control, so people wanted to, put it in stat, hoping they would get it done quicker. It's very true. The other results we want to show here are transportation results. And so this is our median arrival time. It's the number of minutes past the requested appointment time. Something to highlight here is transportation is not our department. We work beside them. They partnered with us from the beginning. But something that is not on here is that the transportation department had a new leader come in, and they did not have measurable data prior. And so they kept saying, oh, we're doing well. But then you're like, how do we know you're doing well? Like, what can you show to say you're doing well? And so what does well look like? And we partner with them with our data analytics team to start pulling the information from IHIS. You can see the green where we started making changes, and their median arrival time did decrease. It decreased by 20% reduction. The changes that happened with transportation is they have a scoring matrix to tell you how they pick up patients within the organization. Inpatient to the test for imaging was one of the lower ones, and she's over here laughing almost because the morgue was higher rated than inpatient to going to. Yeah.
I'm sorry. That just,
Full
I find
transparency.
that I'm just like, I was just blown away.
So we thought about this, the morgue, and so we thought about this. That's true. But the more we thought about it, we're like, well, that's because length of stay. So if you get the patient out of the bed, you can get your next patient in, if you think about it. So somebody was thinking along those lines. And so, and so they had a different lens. And so we partnered with them to tell them why, yes, that was important. However, you had other people that could move patients down when needed that have passed. And also, if you can get the patient to the exam quicker, you might get them out of the bed quicker even. And so we just had to really share, but that was eye-opening for us, right? Somebody said, I don't know if you should share that. And we said, why would we not tell the truth of what was happening and where we're going? So this is the truth. Yeah, somebody's gonna ask, why were you so low? And so there we are. This was huge for us there. And I wanna call out that we stopped in August here. Transportation and IHIS changed how their scoring is done, and we have not been able to pull the data accurately since August, and so it is not clean data for you to see. And so we are working with our analytics team to pull it properly, so we will have it, the next time we present. So we move into our reflections, and so this piece here, I want to say these 2 quotes here: change happens with and through people, not at and to them. And first to, then what? If we don't work with the people, you cannot make the changes. And so that's from Dennis Delisle and Jim Collins there. For lessons learned, this is my own lessons. So this slide is solely me here. And this is, the next slide will be solely Annette. But really, not everyone would see the changes as positive. Goodness, it's hard for me. I'm like, I like change. Not everybody does like change. We were in the department, and one of the teams that were talking to me were talking about transportation, and we asked them to do pushing and pulling the patients. So can you go up and get the patients if you don't have, somebody down here right now you're scanning? And first of all, they're like, it's not my job. Okay, fair. It's not mine either, but I do it. Second thing was, if I start doing this, they're gonna expect it of me. And I paused. I had to pause myself and I was like, explain that to me. Tell me what you mean. And I thought I understood it. And they were like, well, I'm not going to start doing something that's not my job. And then if I start doing it, they're going to expect it always. And so I had to really root back and define our purpose, and that we shouldn't change our own morals and values because we're worried about how somebody else will perform. And so really saying, you know, talking to them that it's not just their job or our job. And, you know, going to the departments when you get the patient saying, this is not what I can always do. However, today I'm able to because, and just like talking truly through it and saying it's a nobody's job, it's everybody's job. And so really that was hard for me. Not everyone would see those changes as positive. And then engaging the naysayers. Annette's talked about this a few times. I've talked about this a few times. I find energy in the naysayers, which you put this on here, and it's not that they are negative, they have energy. The hardest people to engage are the people that have no energy. The ones that have energy, even if it's negative, that's okay. Take it and run with it. Help them find the positivity and find the reasoning. What is their purpose behind their negativity? Why are they against what you're doing? And how do you make it better? And then really, I say engage, but those become my champions. I mean, those are the people that have came to Annette and sat down and said, this is why this isn't going to work. And we're like, oh my goodness, that's great. Please keep going. So that's been huge for us. The nurse in me says PDSA cycle importance and the evidence should drive the change. Those two things are huge for me. Evidence, rooting yourself. Lean methodology does not tell you to root back in evidence. However, the nurse in me does. And so it's a partnership of the two there. And then going through those cycles, just because you've ended it doesn't mean you're done. What next for you? And then staying in the praise, and that is huge. Really, even when praise is uncomfortable, even when Annette doesn't want to hear it, or I don't, or her teams, it's that you have to give that praise. The biggest part for me was sitting with Annette one day and one of her team members who is a naysayer giving his, you know, ideas and problems with what we were doing. And she like paused him to recognize that he was coming to us with ideas. And he was like, oh, no, it's fine. Like, not a big deal. And she goes, no, like, we're going to pause in this. We're going to stay in that praise. We're going to sit here. And just talking to them about, you know, why that praise was important for him to hear. And he actually thanked her and myself afterwards. And so staying in that praise was huge for me.
You guys have not experienced this, but did you guys do the praise when something failed?
Yeah, because it gives you an opportunity. She's going to talk about that.
So failure. So
you know what? I'm going to start backwards.
I'm going to start backwards. So the biggest thing that I took away from this is it's okay to fail because it puts us on the path to success. So it's not really a failure. It's an opportunity. It's creating an opportunity to see this didn't work. Let's get back on the path. I think that failure, is a success in progress. But one big thing that I have trained doing this project, I have trained myself not to think of things as failing. That's a bad word. But think of how, and really implementing that to my team. This is not failing. We're just going to look for some areas of opportunity. Huge takeaway for me, literally retraining the way I think about things. Engaging a team is crucial for creating buy-in. And once again, the success of the project, any project, relies on the team. And that's just not our team, but it's having the right people at the table, the right stakeholders, making everyone feel like their voice is heard. Being transparent, even when things aren't going the way that we want them to in our department. Making sure you're transparent and being open with the staff and the team and talking about, you know, what's going on. Don't keep them in the dark, because this had happened years before, and I'm starting to understand why the culture was the way it was. And then recognizing success and acknowledging outcomes, that's huge. I know that Lauren spoke a bit about that, but just making sure that, you know, you're going to pull some hidden leaders, and you're going to be able to pull and recognize their success. And maybe, and that also creates a buy-in for, hey, like, you know, you're definitely acknowledging this person had a great idea, or, you know, their process works. So just really focusing on really paying attention to your department and your teams and just recognizing that they're doing great.
Something you didn't say that you have told me is that the only time you are failing or are not succeeding is when you stop trying. And that's something Annette tells me and her teams, and it's really true. And so you're right, we need to praise the opportunities we identified, not the failures, but the opportunities there. And then, you talk about engaging the team, Annette, and really, we needed people to work more weekends. And that was something, we had to engage the team for this because we couldn't just come in and say, you're gonna work more weekends. That's not gonna fly.
So this was eye-opening for me too, to hear the whole team. So to take better care of our patients and to be able to open another scanner on the weekends to get, our ginormous inpatient queue down, we were thinking about call, and I spoke very openly and transparent to the team. I'm like, we need extra people to cover 2 extra shifts for the next 3 months. And would we like to have a call schedule that, that you go down? And someone from the team said, well, why don't we just volunteer to work an extra shift, extra 2 shifts, and then we can take better care of our patients and we don't have to have call. So the team all created buy-in, and they picked up every single shift that needed to be filled. And so we were able to open another scanner on the weekends. But guess what? They came up with that idea themselves. My idea was, we might have to start taking call. Does anyone have any ideas?
And my idea is going, they're just gonna have to work more weekends because.
But this is funny. So myself and Lauren does not scan, but myself and Lauren also picked up those shifts. And so we also went in and I did my 2 shifts. And the team was like, this is wow. But it's kind of the same thing with creating a buy-in, like transporting patients, the pushing and pulling of patients. If needed, I would go up to the floor and get a patient. Lauren, our director, would go up to the floor to get a patient. And I mean, stopping what you're doing, but also the team views it differently. You're part of the team at this point.
Yeah, so you really engaged them with this. I mean, it was good to hear their ideas and how we could use their idea to cover those shifts that needed. Something we were promising.
We were promising to get more people in.
We're like, we're gonna get more people.
Which that did happen. And we were promising, it's not gonna be like this forever. And in the last, I'm gonna say 4 weeks now, in the last 4 weeks, I have successfully hired 12 people that want to be there full time.
Now, they haven't started yet.
They haven't started,
but a few of them have to graduate.
But they're students. Yeah. They've come to me and they're like, the culture, they could go anywhere. They're like, the culture of your department. They didn't say, they're like, we love it here. And they're like, give it back to me. I walk out and they're laughing and like, they're so engaged. And I've heard nothing but compliments from the tech. And this is what we want to do. We want to create that environment. People want to come to work. No one really wants to, come to work and work in a hospital. Sometimes it's depressing, but they want to be there. And we've had a couple other people, and I am going to say, I used to manage a team of people at another hospital, and they were excellent technologists. And currently I have 12 of them now.
Yeah.
That have came to Ohio State.
It's so good. And I'm imagining where we'll be once we have staff to open more hours and 24/7, the queue's there. So I'm going to say keep adding staff and opening hours until we can get our queue down to, I don't even know, we'll have to come up with that. Something big here, Annette, that I know I don't have a slide on this, but I want to ask, but when we were using these tools to implement these changes, which one of these was the most like eye-opening or difficult or like?
On the spot question. Okay, yeah. I actually think the gimbal walks were. And I will say this because I met with the head of neuro, and once they realized they had a safe space and that we were all there, I started out our conversation with, we were all there and we were patient focused. Then I heard a lot of things about my department that I'm like, oh, and that was hard for me. That was hard because once again, you're siloed in your own little area, but it was hard because I'm like, they're right. And that's why I'm here. That's why we're here. That's why we're pulling you in. And so for me, it was just listening to the feedback that I really didn't realize that they felt about the department.
Yeah.
And I will say this one good example was, you know, we talk about how many inpatients and the ordering of the patients, and it's definitely doubled, if not tripled, in the last few years. One of the neuro doctors said to me, he goes, well, I overorder. I do. I know I do. I order way more than I need because I can't get an MRI in a timely fashion here. And he gave an example of another hospital where he said, so if I'm really looking at the lumbar spine, that's really all I really want. But he said, I have to order a complete spine because I would have to wait 2 or 3 more extra days and have that patient in the hospital. And then he said something that really resonated with me that I really had no idea. He said, and I can't get radiologists, any kind of help from the radiologist. And I was like, can you explain? And it really, I was just shocked because he said, I don't order things stat, but when I do, I want a physician to physician radiologist consult. And he said, our team cannot get a hold of radiologists. It's very difficult to discuss. We would do radiology consults. And so we make sure we're ordering exactly what is needed. But that was, like I said, that was something with me that that was very difficult for me to hear.
Yeah, goodness, yeah. I think that is hard because then the team is, I mean, you feel almost like you want to be defensive, like, and you want to like pull back into yourself. I love that with the Gemba walks because it does eye open for you.
What about for you?
Okay.
Turning around, because
mine is, I already mentioned it. So the payoff matrix, because like I struggle so much with everything feels hard. Every single thing we're doing, I'm like, this feels hard to do. And yes, it might have impact, like high impact or low impact, but it feels hard. And we're an academic medical center. And so there are so many pieces to the puzzle. And so that was hard for me. That was probably the hardest if I'm looking at just the Lean Six Sigma tools. And then, you know, you grounded me with what could be easier to do and et cetera.
And then I do have another question for you. So how hard was it for you to step into a department that had no process improvement like experience and come into a department where you're completely out of your wheelhouse?
Yeah.
And we have tons of working pieces and parts.
So this has been I talk about this often because this is a great partnership. I'm a nurse, Annette's a technologist. Like she's managing the department, but like stepping in and losing my entire almost identity is what it felt like. I'm a leader, yes, at the core of me, but losing my like nurse base friends or like partners that I knew how they thought or why they thought a certain way. It has been so hard. And you mentioned like the moving parts and so many pieces. That was also so hard. It felt like so many pieces that were on the table and parts to pull together. And I felt isolated. And also people don't really want it, a nurse in the department. That was true from the beginning. I mean, come on, you can say it, it's okay. You know, and like there were those things of like, people said that I took a job that you know, maybe a technologist wanted, and that resonated too, but I heard it all and I listened and I accepted it and I was very transparent and still am. Goodness, I learn a new word every day of something I still don't know. Like just the other day, 2 days ago at this conference, actually, like there was somebody talking to me and just learning this terminology that still a year and 4 months in, I'm still not knowing. I will say my leaders, I may be above or in a certain ranking, but I'm not because this is my partner. And that's been the piece that like, without them welcoming me in and teaching me what they know and allowing me to teach the pieces I know, then it wouldn't have been like this. So I think that's a really hard question, Annette. And so I'm throwing it back at you because how has it been with you having a nurse as a leader?
Ooh. So it
like, okay, wait, we're in front of people.
It could have went either way. Okay, I thought about this. My mom was a nurse my mom was a nurse. And this is the first time in any imaging facility that I've ever worked in, and I've been in a long time, that I had a nurse leader to report to. And so I made the decision that I was going to accept this change, that I was going to accept it, and I was gonna ask lots of questions, but I learned a lot. I've learned evidence-based practice. I learned ISPAR. I'm learning tools that they don't teach us in imaging school. You know, I'm learning how to problem solve. That's something that I didn't learn in radiology school. So for me, it's been a breath of fresh air. It's been wonderful. I've learned so much over the last year. I can't even thank Lauren enough. But it's also, you know, also creating, once again, our team a buy-in, because not everybody in radiology, you know, this is foreign ground for nursing. So I just want to say, it was, when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, wow, this is a first, especially in our institution. But no, I think it's great.
I think it's been so good. Something really big to me, being a nurse too in this department, is that I will hear, I mean, I heard it from my nurse friends, like, why would you go to imaging? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean, what am I doing? It's where I'm called to lead right now. But also coming in, nurses have a very large footprint in our organization and in lots of organizations, and you will hear how they are the backbone or the support of the organization. But I am going to challenge back that without the technologist, without the image, you can't do the surgery that needs done. You can't find the disease that needs treated. You can't, like, it is all about the diagnosis and the assessment of that patient, which is core to nursing too. And so it is a partnership. It has been good, and it has been challenging for sure.
So I too am a survivor.
Had the audacity.
I'm just kidding. So what I found in my experience here is when a nurse, when she came in, she had never dealt with radiology, and we had to explain to her why. And this is kind of two-pronged. And as I explained to her why we did stuff, sometimes we're like, why did we do that? Because it's something we'd always done.
Yeah.
Did you find that helped find some of the issues within the system?
Yeah.
Trying to explain and bouncing off somebody who was just at pardon, so to speak.
So I'm going to say, she came in with a lot of ideas, and she questioned me
So many
as a
questions.
leader. So, well, first of all, she questioned me a lot as far as like, why do you do it like that?
Yeah.
You know, the inquisitive mind, because no one had really ever asked me before why we did what we did. And I'm like, oh, it's because we've always done it like that. And so then I'm thinking, well, we don't have to do it like that. But I will say this, my former leader, I wasn't empowered to make changes. And I definitely didn't have the support. We now have executive leadership support. We have the support behind us, and we're given the tools. But you're right, like, you asked tons of questions. Lauren's she's like a machine gun. When she's getting on her question roll, she's just firing them off. Like,
I don't know
you
if
know,
this is good or bad. She's used to me now.
No,
So.
it's fine. No, but yeah, that was a great question, because and then I would ask her, well, what do you think?
Yeah,
And
something big for me with this is I could have came in and asked the why, but had my preconceived why, but I'm not really trying to find why. People do that, right? They come in and they're like, why don't you tell me why? And they're not really asking why. Yeah. And so for me, it's been a teach me why you do it this way, or explain to me why you are working in this manner, or it's nice to come into an area I had no clue about, because I could ask those questions without putting too many people on the defense. And so that was good. People would get defensive still. And I'm like, no, I have no clue, zero clue. And so teach me. I'm sure it's challenging sometimes for my leaders though, because sometimes I ask the questions and they're giving me the answers and I don't even understand the words coming out of their mouth. But I don't understand still this piece. I'm thinking of theranostics and nuclear medicine, but I love it. But so you have to ask those details. And then she's right about the rapid fire. I would okay, but why? Okay, but tell me this. Okay, explain this piece. Yeah, she will tell me okay, Lauren, hold on one second. And so it's good. It's been good. But yeah, I'm glad you two survived having a nurse leader. So I have an imaging leader above me now. The audacity. So our future plans, and we'll skirt through this pretty quick for you here, but this is our MRI improvement journey continuing. And so the first two, then what? We're really going to stay on that. We're going to have continuous engagement and ownership that we need from other people outside of us. And so that's ordering providers, radiologists, department teams, leadership. We have to drive success now from a different lane. And go ahead, Annette.
Okay,
These are our
so
current initiatives.
so what we're doing next is we started a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt MRI access optimization project. So our goal here is to take a look at the order and the order priority and seeing what we can do to have inpatients converted to outpatient scans. But this would not be possible if we did not have, we have champion leaders that are physicians, not my scope of practice to
Not mine.
prioritize, not my text. So we are currently involved in this project and seeing if we can, come up with a really excellent solution. Another thing that we're doing, we have a nursing imaging collaboration. So I actually chair with another head nurse leader. We work with all
the departments.
all the
So
departments.
med-surg, PCU, ICU, and then she also has the CNO in the group for the James and UH. She has the director and myself, and it's Annette leading it beside an ICU nurse manager, and it's actually kind of wonderful. You don't give yourself enough praise here because they're doing a rapid improvement event now.
And yeah, I mean, I won't talk much about this except for we realized trying to break silos down between nursing. Our leaders got together, we created a survey, we sent a separate survey out to radiology, separate out to nursing, to see what were areas of opportunities, what were barriers between our departments. The feedback was phenomenal. It was in both areas. In both areas, it was communication, and it was not understanding each department's workflow.
It's thinking the
And
tech
so-
pushes buttons and thinking the nurse pushes meds and nothing else, or wipes.
So that's when we're
behinds.
starting the rapid improvement events.
But it's so true. And then something else that, should go into this that I'm learning from another leader is another organization that has teams shadow. And so how beneficial would that be to have them shadow each other? And so
Or right on orientation, at the time of orientation.
so many good things. And so future plans here, really quickly for you, we are establishing a demonstrable business case for quality. And so we're hoping to have, we have the volume there to show in collaboration with the work we've done in the quality QI process. And so we will step into the realm of having a business case for quality and improving the length of stay. We want to enhance our staffing model to support extended hours of operation. We are currently doing that. Creating in-house held time slots, and then implementing those Lean Six Sigma Black Belt initiatives that we are working through that project right now. And so thank you truly for allowing us to share these efforts, and then also asking questions as we go along. I love that. It gives us an opportunity to share even more. But what other questions do you have out there?